Chapter 4179. Forget it. Just pretend I didn't ask you anything. Obviously, Lady Sue was angry and turned to leave. Oh, the old lady has a bad temper recently. Why is she acting like this? Is she going through menopause? Suyu was also baffled by his mother's behavior. To be honest, Suyu didn't think there was anything wrong with introducing a boyfriend to Han Yueyao. Maybe everyone had overestimated Han Yueyao's position in Suyu's heart. After all, falling in love with someone wasn't something that could happen overnight. Loving Huamin forever had become an inexplicable habit for Suyu. Therefore, he subconsciously rejected the idea of someone else replacing Huamin in his heart. Even a good girl like Han Yueyao couldn't steal Huamin from his heart so quickly. After dinner, the twins played for a while and Suyu saw Little Bean was sleepy. So he walked the two kids home. Before she left, Mrs. Sue still didn't give up and asked her son, Aren't you jealous at all? Oh. Let me tell you, there aren't many good girls like Yao nowadays. Don't regret it when you lose her. You won't get another chance like her. Suyu. After the unpleasant conversation with his mother, Suyu walked out. Little Bean got into the car first and kept sending voice messages to Gao Buyun. What are Little Bean and Buyun talking about? They're so excited. Oh, they're addicted to a game that tests IQ. They compete against each other with experience points. If they lose, they'll get red packets. Huh. I didn't know such a game existed. Why don't you play it? Suyu looked at Pudding in puzzlement. Because I have no opponents, Pudding replied in a domineering tone. Suyu gave her a thumbs up. Pudding, am domineering. You must be lonely without opponents. Do you want me to play a round with you? No, you might as well send me a red packet. It's a waste of time. By the way, I might not lose. Suyu wasn't convinced. But you definitely won't win. Don't mess around. When I was in school, I was also a straight A student. Later, your Lord Sue made me join the army, so I gave up my studies. But you're still no match for me, Pudding explained to Suyu helplessly. Hey Pudding, the more you say that, the more I refuse to accept it. Let's have a battle. How about it? Alright, I'll fulfill your wish of being hung up and beaten. Suyu, what are you talking about? I think my strength is at least on par with yours. Suyu was eager to give it a try. In the end, Pudding fulfilled Suyu's wish to be tortured. It was supposed to be a best of 3, but in the end Suyu fled in defeat after one round. He took the initiative to send Pudding a red packet of 8,888 yuan. The reason was simple. There were 10 questions in one round and Suyu only got one right. It wasn't because he really knew the question but because he guessed it. In the next 2 rounds Suyu gave up. In Pudding's words, even if he did, he would be beaten by Pudding. Therefore the two continued to walk to the car. Pudding suddenly stood there and didn't move. What's wrong? Suyu felt that something was wrong. Handsome Sue, have you been in contact with my mommy recently? As expected of father and daughter. They have such tacit understanding that they both ask the same question. Thinking of the question Chin Chu asked him during the day, Suyu blurted out. Did my daddy ask you the same question? Pudding was shocked. Chapter 4180. Yeah, your dad asked me when we were having lunch today. Suyu didn't seem to know what was going on at all. Oh. Pudding nodded thoughtfully. What's wrong? What's wrong with your mommy? Nothing, I just feel like mommy isn't very happy. Pudding decided not to tell Suyu about it. After all, she didn't understand it yet. However, from what Suyu said, did her daddy notice it? Pudding felt her little heart pounding. Of course she's unhappy. Your mommy has just gone through such a big thing. You guys should be more tolerant and treat her like a child. Suyu felt that no matter how pretentious Huamin was, it was reasonable. With Huamin's current mood and state, even if she did something overboard, she could be forgiven. After all, she had suffered so much and even lost a child. Pudding nodded and didn't say anything else. He got into the car. Suyu drove the twins back to South Hill Manor. He wanted to leave immediately. When they arrived at the door, Suyu didn't go in. However, he saw Huamin walk out from afar. Huamian took the initiative to walk out again wearing very thin clothes. She was only wearing a beige windbreaker and she looked delicate and lovely. You guys go in first. I want to talk to Uncle Sue, Huamin said. Okay, mommy. Pudding glanced at her mommy warily and then looked at Suyu. She sent a WeChat message to her daddy. Daddy, we're back from dinner at Grandma Sue's house. Don't worry. Uncle Sue drove us back. We're home now, but Mommy seems to have something to talk to Uncle Sue about. They're at the door. Pudding's WeChat message was definitely a lot of information. Chin-Chu immediately understood what he meant. Pudding was rarely so nosy in the past, nor would she voluntarily report her whereabouts. Therefore Chin-Chu immediately drove back. Mion, when Suyu saw Hwamin, he was as happy as ever. Talk to me, I'm in a bad mood. Okay, then get in the car and tell me. It's too cold outside. Suyu quickly opened the car door and Hwamin got in. Chin-Chu's mother saw Suyu's car parked outside. She saw the two children walk in and Hwamin walk out. At first he didn't think too much about it. However, after thinking about it, he felt that he still had to complain. His father. What's wrong? Mr. Chin raised his head. Mion seems to be seeing Suyu a lot lately. Isn't that normal? They are very good friends. Mr. Chin didn't think that there was anything wrong. But what can't they say on the phone or WeChat? It's so cold, I saw Mion put on a windbreaker and run out. Her car is parked at the entrance of our neighborhood. They should be in the car. Mama Chin sounded a little unhappy. She seemed to think that this wasn't something Hwamin should do. You're thinking too much. It's in front of our house. Doesn't that mean that there's nothing going on between them? Don't think too much. Mion doesn't have it easy. Chu and her have been in a bad situation recently. As parents, we have to protect them and not destroy them. I'm not destroying them. I'm just complaining to you. I think that Mion is such a sensible child and shouldn't do something so impolite. Chin-Chu's mother felt a little uncomfortable. Last time she saw Hwamin talking to Suyu at the door. This was the second time. Especially when she saw Hwamin rush out when he heard that Suyu was at the door. It made her feel vaguely uneasy. Don't tell Chu when he comes back, Mr. Chin warned Mama Chin. Chapter 4181. Don't worry. I'm not senile yet. I won't tell Chu about this. Mama Chin knew that her son was tired and didn't want to distract him with family matters. Then Mama Chin still didn't give up. She stood at the window of the living room and looked out. In fact, at such a distance she couldn't see anything other than Suyu's car. Inside the Audi A8L, Suyu deliberately turned up the heater in the car so that Hwamin, who was wearing thin clothes, would be warmer. You met with Chin, my husband, today? Hwamin pretended to ask casually. Yeah, we had lunch together. Didn't you see it on WeChat Moments? Suyu was still wondering why Hwamin asked when he already knew the answer. Did he invite you? Yeah. Then this guy ran away and didn't pay the bill. He cheated me. Suyu laughed. Then did Chin-Chu say anything to you? Hwamin asked. No, we were just chatting. He's always been a man of few words. Don't mention how awkward it was for us. If I had known, I would have brought Master in, Suyu complained about Chin-Chu. That shouldn't be. With my husband's personality, he must have something to ask you if he took the initiative to have lunch with you. Hwamin obviously didn't believe him. Oh right. I remember that matter. It's about when we were going to pick up our savior. I told Chin-Chu about it and Chin-Chu said he would handle it. Other than that, did he say anything else to you? No. What's wrong? Did something happen between you two again? Oh no. I'm just curious. Seeing that Suyu was a little suspicious, Hwamin didn't ask further. Suyu didn't say anything. He didn't think it was strange that Chin-Chu asked him to have a meal. On the contrary, he felt that Chin-Chu was looking for him to ease the tension between them and make things less awkward. Therefore, he did not mention to Hwamin that Chin-Chu had asked him about the explosion that day. The two of them were chatting. Chin-Chu's Bentley came back. He parked it directly beside Suyu's car. Then he got off the car. Chin-Chu is back? It was clear from the rearview mirror that Suyu stood up, opened the door and walked out. Hwamin also got out of the car with an ugly expression on his face. What are you talking about? Chin-Chu looked at the two of them and asked casually without any emotion. Talking about how to elope with Suyu? Hwamin joked. Suyu was shocked. He felt that Hwamin's joke was a little too much. Ahem. Dr. Hua, I can't take the blame for this. Kidnapping someone's wife is a big taboo. If people expose it on Weibo, I'll be hammered to death. So, please don't joke like this. Why are you so nervous? I'm just teasing my husband. Hwamin looked at Chin-Chu and smiled. Mion, you've been letting yourself go lately. You're becoming less and less like yourself. Do you like me like this? Hwamin stared at Chin-Chu with a smile in his eyes. Do you want to hear the truth? Chin-Chu's lips curled up coldly. Of course. Huamin didn't know if he was acting coquettishly or provocatively. Anyway, Suyu, an outsider, felt that the atmosphere was a little strange and awkward. The truth is, I really don't like you like this. Chin-Chu didn't give him face and replied directly. Huamin's expression changed slightly upon hearing this. It seemed that he didn't expect Chin-Chu to be so merciless. Ahem. Why don't you two go home and joke around? I have something to do, so I won't disturb you. I'm leaving now. Suyu felt that the atmosphere between the couple was weird and he felt uncomfortable listening to it. So he found an excuse to leave. Let's have dinner together tomorrow? Huamin deliberately shouted in front of Chin-Chu. Your husband is treating tomorrow, I'll come. After Suyu finished speaking, he got into the car, started the engine and drove off. Watching the Audi A8L leave, Chin-Chu glanced at Huamin. In a voice that was almost devoid of any warmth, he asked her, "What on earth do you want?" He directly used the word you and didn't say Mion because he knew that this cunning woman wasn't Mion, nor did she deserve to be Mion. Chapter 4182. Honey, what's wrong? Are you jealous? Huamin asked, even though she knew the answer. Even her smile had a hint of hypocrisy. Didn't you say those things to Suyu on purpose for me to see? Isn't it normal for me to eat with Suyu? I've eaten a lot these past few years. When you were in the States, I had to eat with Suyu almost every day. Is there a problem? Huamin obviously said these words to anger Chin-Chu. Do you think it's fun to do this? Chin-Chu's eyes were filled with disappointment. This was the only way to make Layla believe that Chin-Chu was really disappointed in Huamin and not doubting her, an imposter. What else can I do? My own husband is ignoring me. Can't I go to another man for some comfort? Hey, do whatever you want. In the end, Chin-Chu sneered and chuckled at Huamin. This chuckle annoyed Huamin. She angrily turned around and followed Chin-Chu, grabbing his arm. However, Chin-Chu brushed her hand away without hesitation. He didn't give her any face, let alone treat her gently. Because he hated the way this woman was touching his body. Chin-Chu, do you not want to live with me anymore? Then let's get a divorce. Divorce? Don't even think about it. Just live like this. Chin-Chu said this and walked straight into the house. Huamin was actually a little angry behind him. Although she wasn't the real Huamin, she was deeply immersed in the role, so Chin-Chu's reaction really made her feel despair for a moment. She originally thought that Chin-Chu would take care of her like how he took care of Huamin in the past. It seemed that the master was right. Men were indeed unreliable. Even an excellent man like Chin-Chu couldn't be trusted. Chin-Chu and Huamin came back one after another. Mama Chin saw this and felt bad. During dinner, Chin-Chu didn't eat and went straight to the study. Mama Chin felt sorry for her son. She scooped out a portion of dinner and personally carried the plate to the study. Chu, Mom, why are you here? Chin-Chu rubbed his temples. In fact, there was nothing to be busy with. It was just that he had a headache when he saw that woman. To ensure the safety of the family, he even installed many pinhole cameras and was prepared to monitor her 24/7. You haven't been in the past few days. Why? Are you busy with work? Mrs. Chin placed the dinner on the table and pointed at the soup. I made pork bone soup. It's delicious. Drink it while it's hot. Thank you, Mom. Chin-Chu was relieved that his mother cared about him at a time like this. He tiredly picked up the bowl of soup and sipped it. Chu, what's wrong with you and Mion recently? Did you fight? No, Chin-Chu denied. Chu, Mion has done a lot for our family. Don't fight with her. Even if she's a little willful, you have to bear with it. It'll be fine when she's in a better mood. This family can't fall apart. Mama Chin tried to persuade him. Hearing his mother's words, Chin-Chu smiled bitterly. No, how can the family fall apart? I'll always be true to Mion. Good. Then you should communicate with Mion more and spend more time with her. Okay. Chin-Chu agreed immediately. After Mama Chin went downstairs, Chin-Chu looked at the bug planted somewhere in the study and smiled. At the dinner table downstairs, Layla's ear was bugged and she clearly heard the conversation between Chin-Chu and Mama Chin. It seemed that she was overthinking. Chin-Chu didn't suspect her. Otherwise, why would he say that he would always be true to Mion? Chapter 4183. Unfortunately, Chin-Chu was telling the truth, but he was only saying it to Mion. And Layla wasn't Mion. So, during the fight with Chin-Chu, the two of them had a hard time eavesdropping and counter-eavesdropping. At the dinner table, Little Bean looked at her mommy. Mommy, did you and Daddy fight? Oh baby, why do you ask? Huamin looked at Little Bean with a smile. I feel like Daddy isn't eating at the table anymore. Grandma has to bring him food. What's wrong with you two? It's nothing. Your daddy is too busy. Huamin didn't say much. Little Bean was innocent. Seeing that her mommy didn't say anything, she didn't ask. However, Little Bean felt that her mommy's smile was a little fake, especially when she smiled gently and kindly. In fact, if one looked closely at those micro-expressions, they were very unnatural. There was even a hint of strangeness in them. Little Bean lowered her head silently and ate in silence. She didn't participate in the conversation. Little Bean, how are you doing in the stock market recently? Pretty good, Little Bean answered Huamin. I heard that the Huasiqian Corporation's mess has been saved by you. Unfortunately, Huasiqian is dead. Otherwise, if he saw it, he wouldn't know how ashamed he would be. He's not even as good as a child. Perhaps he was too proud, but his tone really didn't sound like Huamin. With Huamin's personality, he would never say such exaggerated words. Little Bean couldn't help but look at her mommy. Mommy, although Huasiqian is a big bad guy, he died to save mommy and handsome Sue. As the saying goes, the dad are the most important. Let's not talk about this person anymore. Hee. Baby, you're right. Let's not talk about this big bad guy. Hearing Little Bean's words, Huamin didn't say anything else. They didn't have a good time at dinner. Everyone knew that the atmosphere at home was different, so after dinner the twins played with their grandparents in the living room. Huamin knew that Chin Chu didn't want to see her now, so she didn't go to the study to pick a fight. Instead, he leaned on the wide bed and played with WeChat. The next day after Chin Chu went to work, Huamin went straight to the headquarters of Imperial Star. When Huamin came to Suyu, Han Yueyao was joking with Suyu in the office. They were laughing happily when Huamin pushed the door open and walked in, startling Han Yueyao. Sister Mian, Han Yueyao greeted him immediately. What are you talking about? Huamin looked at her with complicated emotions in his eyes. I'm just reporting to President Su about my schedule for the next week. Oh, Mian, why are you here? To be honest, Suyu wasn't used to seeing Huamin so often. After all, Huamin was a busy man who was either at the hospital or at home. If Suyu wanted to meet her, he had to find an excuse first. What? Can't I come to see you? Huamin asked Suyu. Of course not. What are you talking about? Suyu chuckled. I missed you, so I came to see you, Huamin said directly. His words made Han Yueyao and Suyu's expressions change subtly. Huamian didn't seem like someone who would say something so straightforward. Therefore, when she said I miss you, it was really complicated. Han Yueyao couldn't figure out Huamin's thoughts. What was his purpose? Suyu was dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. Ahem. Dr. Hua, stop it. I'm not used to your words. Suyu coughed awkwardly. What? You don't want to see me? If you don't, I'll leave now. Chapter 4184. Seeing that Huamin was really going to leave, Suyu immediately stood up to stop him. No. Who dares to mess with our Dr. Hua? Sister Mian, are you feeling better? Han Yueyao immediately tried to smooth things over for Suyu and changed the topic. Yes, I'm fine. Haven't you noticed that I've been free recently? Huamin chuckled. That's good. Han Yueyao nodded. Seeing that Han Yueyao had no intention of leaving, Huamin purposely said to Suyu, yes. Didn't you say you were going to treat me to dinner? Do you still want to go? I didn't eat well at home this morning. Suyu froze and glanced at his watch. But it's only 10 a.m. Isn't it a bit early? Then why don't you go shopping with me first? Suyu glanced at Han Yueyao. Do you want to have dinner together? In fact, Suyu's plan was simple. If Han Yueyao went, there would be 3 of them and no gossip would spread. After all, it wasn't good for her to be alone with Huamin. Although she knew it wasn't a big deal, it wouldn't sound good. Han Yueyao was hesitating whether she should go or not. Huamin said to Suyu, you're putting Yao in a difficult position. She's very dedicated and has so much work to do. How can she eat? Do you think everyone is a foodie like me? Hee. Yeah. You guys go ahead. I'll go back to work. President Su, I'll talk to you about the show later. Seeing Huamin's obvious intention, Han Yueyao hurriedly said goodbye. Suyu nodded and had to let Han Yueyao go first. Then Suyu took Huamin to eat. If it was in the past, Suyu would have taken Huamin shopping and bought her some gifts. But now the relationship between Qin Chu and Huamin was so tense. He didn't want to add to the mess. With this idea in mind, Qin Chu directly took Huamin to a well-known Japanese restaurant. The two of them ate exquisite Japanese food in a small private room. What Suyu did not expect was that not only did Huamin not keep a low profile, he even took a picture and deliberately posted it on his WeChat moments. She posted 3 pictures. The first one was a selfie with a beautiful angle. Perhaps it was the power of the Meitu software, but the photos taken were indeed very beautiful. However, they didn't look like Huamin at all. The second table was filled with food for 2 people. Sashimi platter, raw beef, California rolls, tuna sushi, prawn tempura, pufferbone ramen, you name it. The third picture was also the most important one. Huamin had secretly taken a picture of Suyu eating. Although his head was lowered, he could still recognize Suyu at a glance. After all, his side profile was also unbelievably handsome. Moreover, he was wearing a white long-sleeved shirt. Under the light, the color of his hair was a little light. There was no problem with the angle at all. Could be said to be perfect. The funny thing was that when the picture was taken, there was a chandelier behind Suyu that coincided with him. Therefore, the whole picture looked as if the chandelier had grown directly on Suyu's head. Huamin attached the picture and wrote, "The weather is very good today. The Teletubbies treated me to Japanese food. I'm crazy about his perfect performance." After a while, the comments under Huamin's post became lively. Zhu Lingling, fuck shameless little bitch. You're eating good food without me. Jiang Xiaowei, Dr. Hua, how does it feel to eat food alone? Tang Chuan, fuck you two are having sex. Wei Liao, awesome. Han Yueyao silently liked the post. Little Bean, Mommy, why don't you take me and my sister to eat with handsome Sue? Pudding didn't like the post or leave a comment, feeling a little upset. Most importantly, Qin Chu only glanced at it coldly and put it down. He wouldn't be angry or jealous. After all, it wasn't the real Huamian. Qin Ning, sis-in-law, does my brother know that you're eating with Lord Su so openly? Chapter 4185. Everyone knew that Qin Ning's words were meant to be a joke. However, Huamin took it a little too seriously. He replied to Qin Ning privately, "Your brother doesn't care who I'm eating with anymore as long as it's not him." After reading this comment, Qin Ning didn't react for a long time. She and Tang Chuan were waiting for their flight at the airport. After celebrating her father's birthday, they would fly back to China. "Tang Chuan, come here." Qin Ning gestured for Tang Chuan to come over. Tang Chuan ran over with 2 cups of Starbucks in his hands. To him, Qin Ning's call was like an imperial edict. "What's the matter, little ancestor? Look at this sentence." Qin Ning pointed at her phone. "I see it. How do you feel after reading it? Feel like sister-in-law and brother-in-law had a fight?" As expected, even Tang Chuan, who didn't have a high EQ, he could tell that something was wrong. "Don't you think that after sister-in-law came back this time she and my brother felt weird? I didn't really talk to them. Didn't they say that they would let sister-in-law rest first? I didn't talk to them too much. But Lord Su is more depressed than before. After all, he feels guilty. Strange. When I get back, I'll talk to sister-in-law and see what's going on." Qin Ning didn't reply to Huamin, but she took this matter to heart. While Huamin and Suyu were eating, her phone rang. It was a message notification in the WeChat group. It turned out to be Jiang Xiaowei, Zhu Lingling, and her 3 friends. Jiang Xiaowei, "Mian, let's have dinner together tonight." Zhu Lingling, "Yeah, the 3 of us haven't gotten together in a long time." "Mian, are you feeling better? Can we eat seafood?" Huamin glanced at her indifferently. "I have something to do tonight, so I won't be able to go." Jiang Xiaowei, "Okay, let's meet another day." Zhu Lingling, "Okay, let me know when the time comes." Huamin did not reply. Jiang Xiaowei vaguely felt that after Huamin came back, she and Zhu Lingling were obviously estranged. Was it because Huamin hadn't adjusted his mentality or something else? Qin Chu's office Yixin suddenly rushed in. "Brother-in-law, what happened?" "My mom fainted. She's at the hospital." Yixin was panting heavily. It was obvious that he had run all the way here. "How could this be?" "I don't know. The hospital called. I'll go take a look." "I'll go with you." Qin Chu put down the things he was doing. Recently, everything had really come together. Bella was unconscious and Jingda had mysteriously disappeared. Yang Meong suddenly fainted while taking care of Bella in the hospital. Perhaps the old lady had too much on her mind and the blow was too great. Especially when Jingda suddenly disappeared. The old lady's mood of regaining what she had lost was completely shattered. She was afraid that Jingda would never come back. But how could Qin Chu dare to tell his mother-in-law that Jingda was an imposter and a monster? It was better to treat it as a missing person and leave her with something to remember. On the way to the hospital, Qin Chu drove and Jixin sat in the passenger seat. Brother-in-law, is there any news about my dad? Did you ask Brother Gao Ran? Jixin still had hope for Jingda. No news. Brother-in-law, should we tell my sister about this? Jixin panicked. No need to tell her. In Qin Chu's opinion, it was better for his mother-in-law to stay away from this impostor as much as possible. Otherwise it would only be more dangerous. What if something happens to my mom and my sister can't see it? Will she blame us? Chapter 4186. Jixin was a little pessimistic. She'll be fine, trust me. Qin Chu was full of confidence and was determined not to tell Huamin. The two of them drove all the way to the first hospital. Yang Merong had already recovered. The attending doctor walked out and said unobjectively, Ms. Yang's heart isn't good, her blood pressure is very high and she can't stand external stimuli. She might have been too emotional recently and fainted. She's not suitable to take care of people here. I suggest you let her stay in the hospital for a few days for observation to stabilize. Where's my mother-in-law? Qin Chu asked the doctor. She's in the intensive care unit. You can go and see her, but don't take too long. Prepare to give her a sedative later and let her sleep a little longer. Qin Chu nodded and walked in with Jixin. As soon as he entered, he saw Yang Merong lying on the hospital bed with a haggard face. Qin Chu was very sad. If his Mian came back one day, she would be very sad to see that he didn't take good care of her mother. Qin Chu silently adjusted his emotions. Then he walked in and Jixin followed behind him, secretly crying. It had only been a few days, but the family had suffered a series of blows. First, Bella was attacked and fell into a coma. Then Jingda disappeared for no reason, or rather he left without saying goodbye. Now his mother couldn't take the blow and fell ill. For Jixin, he couldn't take so many heavy blows at once. So he lost the ability to deal with things and only knew how to cry. Mom, Qin Chu walked over to the hospital bed. Here. Yang Merong looked at Jixin, who was crying behind Qin Chu. She waved her hand. Brat, don't cry. I'm not dead. Mom, don't talk nonsense. You'll live a long life. I haven't been filial enough to you, Jixin choked with sobs. I'm fine. I just haven't rested well recently. Don't worry. Send someone to take care of Bella. What if she wakes up and is thirsty or hungry? Yang Merong was famous for her sharp tongue but soft heart. She really loved Bella. Mom, don't worry. I've already arranged for 24-hour care. There will be 3 groups of professional nurses taking turns to look after Bella. Qin Chu reached out and held his mother-in-law's hand to comfort her. Is there any news about your Uncle Jing? Finally, this question was asked. Qin Chu felt sad. He had killed the fake Jingda with his own hands. Now, facing his mother-in-law's accusation, he didn't have the heart to say it. There's no news yet. Uncle Jing might have run away on his own. Maybe he's in a mess, so he ran away from home. Don't worry, maybe he'll come back soon. Hey, I think so too. He's such an honest person. I'm just afraid that he'll be cheated and bullied outside. Mom, Dad won't do that. He's an adult and can take care of himself. You're the one who needs to worry about yourself. You have to take care of yourself, Jixin said as he walked up to her and cried. I'm fine. It's just a small problem. Where's your sister? My sister doesn't know yet. My brother-in-law won't let her tell you. Okay, Chu, you're right. Don't tell Mian. It's an old problem of mine. Don't make her worry, okay? Jixin nodded. I miss my granddaughters. Yang Merong's voice was weak. Pudding and Little Bean, they make me happy. I'll bring them over after school. My daughter has had a hard life. She hasn't enjoyed much in these years. If one day I'm gone, she won't even have a family. She'll be so pitiful. You have to take good care of her. Yang Merong's words sounded like her last words. Qin Chu's heart was in turmoil. Chapter 4187. Mom, don't say that. You'll get better. It's not a big deal. I'm a medical student, so I know it best. Bella will wake up for sure. Qin Chu had always been a man of few words and didn't know how to comfort people. However, when he heard his mother-in-law's words, he almost cried. Hey, I'll listen to you. I'll rest well. After a long time of coaxing, Yang Meong finally fell asleep. Xixin, you don't have to go to the company for a while. Brother-in-law, will you be able to handle it? After Bella fell into a coma, the company was already very busy. If Xixin didn't go, it was hard to imagine how busy Qin Chu would be. It's okay. Ning and the others will probably arrive in China tomorrow. I'll ask Ning to help. Hey. Then I'll stay in the hospital to take care of my mom and wife. Yeah. Just take care of our family. Don't worry about anything else, Qin Chu instructed. Hey. I'll listen to you, brother-in-law. Also, don't talk to your sister for a while. Huh? Xixin was confused. Why couldn't he talk to his sister? Your sister and I have some private matters to deal with. She probably won't come for a while. If she comes to you, just brush her off. It's best if you don't meet her. Alright then, you guys take it easy. Xixin didn't know what they were up to, but he trusted Qin Chu 100%, so he nodded and agreed to do what they said. At the headquarters of Lu Yan's mercenary group, ever since Qiao Fei came, he hadn't slept well. In other words, he hadn't had a good night's sleep since Lu Yan disappeared. Those who stayed with him almost went all over the world to look for Lu Yan. When they heard about someone who looked like Lu Yan, they immediately went to check. However, after so long, there was still no news of her. This made Qiao Fei feel more and more uneasy. Young Master Qiao. Sup? Look who's here. Lu Yan's subordinates were now Qiao Fei's subordinates. He walked in with a man to Qiao Fei's office. The man was dressed very plainly and wore a sun hat. He looked like an ordinary old man. But the moment the old man took off his hat, Qiao Fei was shocked. Uncle, Lu. Seeing the professor, Qiao Fei was extremely excited. Over the years, whether it was the rumors from the outside world or what he had seen with his own eyes, Professor Lu was the most powerful person Qiao Fei had ever met. The reason why he was said to be amazing was because his profound medical skills could bring people back from the dead. Even Lu Yan couldn't compare to her dad in terms of intelligence and scientific research. Sit, little Fei. Uncle Lu, I've been looking for you for a long time. Yeah, I was targeted a few days ago. I blocked my signal for a long time. Then I heard that you took over Yan's mercenary group, so I came here. Uncle Lu, I'm not trying to monopolize you. Qiao Fei seemed to want to explain to Professor Lu that he didn't do it for the sake of taking over Lu Yan's hard work as the rumors said. There's no need to say more. I've watched you grow up since you were a child. I know better than anyone what kind of person you are. Qiao Fei was comforted by Professor Lu's high praise and trust. Let's go into the secret room and have a chat. Then Professor Lu opened the door to the secret room. This was a place full of anti-eavesdropping devices that no hacker could crack. Obviously, the conversation between Professor Lu and Qiao Fei would be too confidential. He didn't want a third person to hear it. Chapter 4188. They entered the secret room one after the other. Then Professor Lu closed the door behind them. The secret room was only 40 square meters in size. However, the decoration was extremely luxurious. It was a bit like a traditional Chinese tea house with an antique flavor. The tea table was made of rosewood from Hainan. Professor Lu sat down and Qiao Fei sat across from him. You still haven't heard from Yen, right? Yeah, no. Professor Lu nodded. Uncle Lu, do you know where Yen is? I know she's not dead. Qiao Fei was afraid to hear bad news about Lu Yen from Professor Lu. Don't worry. That girl is very lucky and won't die. I might know who has her. Professor Lu lowered his head and said slowly. Who? Qiao Fei stood up in excitement. He wanted to rescue her immediately. No matter who had her, even if she was in space, he would bring her back. That was Qiao Fei's determination. Sit down first, little Fei. Listen to me. Professor Lu waved his hand to calm Qiao Fei down. About 10 seconds later, the professor said word by word, I think Yen might be in Linya's hands. Linya. Hearing this name, Qiao Fei felt that it was very familiar, but he didn't have time to think. Before he could think about it, Professor Lu said, Linya is my wife, Yen and Mion's mother. Qiao Fei was stunned. He remembered that he had heard the name Linya from Lu Yen. Lu Yen went to Iceland almost every year and kept her whereabouts a secret. She didn't even go into the cave when she went to Iceland. afraid that someone would find her and destroy her mother's ice coffin. So she traveled over mountains and rivers just to see the cave from afar as if she was seeing her mother. In Lu Yan's heart, the name Linya was sacred. It was obvious that Lu Yan loved her mother very much. When there were no photos of Linya in the world, Lu Yan had a sketch of her. This was Lu Yan's secret and the biggest secret that Qiao Fei knew. No matter how powerful Lu Yan was, she was still a little girl, especially in front of her parents. A child who lost his mother at a young age would have a severe sense of insecurity. Unlike Huamin grew up with his adoptive mother and even lived with his stepfather for a few years. Therefore Huamin did not lack much parental love. Lu Yan, on the other hand, had been on the run with Professor Lu since she was a little girl. Then her mother wasn't by her side. When she got her first period, she felt helpless and panicked. He even thought that he was injured. Otherwise, how could there be so much blood? That feeling of ignorance and confusion was something that no emotion could make up for. So both Professor Lu and Qiao Fei knew how important Linya was to Lu Yan. Uncle Lu, but Auntie Linya, many years ago. Qiao Fei didn't say it clearly, but Professor Lu knew what he meant. Yes, when Linya was injured, I treated her. She was in a state of brain death. I couldn't accept it, so I've been freezing her in an ice coffin all these years. All these years I've been looking for a way to bring her back to life, but I failed. Then how did she? The more Qiao Fei listened, the more confused he became. Since Uncle Lu couldn't find a way to bring Linya back to life, how did she kidnap Lu Yan? Was she a ghost? Chapter 4189. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I have a feeling that Linya might have woken up, although I don't know how she did it. Professor Lu and Linya had been together for many years and had a subtle telepathy. However, Qiao Fei was completely confused. Uncle Lu, you and Auntie Linya are husband and wife. If she wakes up, shouldn't she come to you immediately? Why did you take Yan away? Why didn't you let her contact us? Maybe she was coerced. You don't understand how complicated our circle is. Although Professor Lu and Dr. Linya had the highest honor. However, he was indeed targeted by many ambitious people, but Professor Lu wasn't going to hide from those people. What do we need to do now? Send your people to continue the search. I'll give you a few places where I think Linya might appear. Let me know as soon as you have any news. I have a feeling that Linya will contact me, Professor Lu guessed. Uncle Lu, about Sister Mian, don't contact Mian. Otherwise it will get more and more chaotic. I don't want her to get involved. Professor Lu thought his daughter was safe and didn't want Huamin to get involved in such a complicated matter, but she was already. But brother-in-law has been trying to contact you. I can't contact him. His communication network is being monitored. I don't know who did it. I have to be careful. So powerful? Qiao Fei felt the situation was getting more and more complicated. Fortunately, Professor Lu was here. He had a feeling that there would be news of Yan soon. In the underwater palace on the other side of the earth, faced with Huamin's question, Linya remained silent. Huamin's question was so sharp that she couldn't figure it out even if she racked her brains. Mother, why did she want to clone herself? What was her purpose? But obviously Linya had no intention of answering. You'll be here for a long time. I'll explain it to you slowly. Don't worry. No, I need to go home. Huamin stood up and was about to leave with his big belly. Mian, do you still need to go back to that house? Layla has completely replaced you. No one noticed that you're missing no one. Linya's voice was very clear. Huamin definitely felt uncomfortable when he heard it. She knew Layla's strength and she also knew how similar Layla was to her. No, my daughter, my husband. They'll recognize me. Take a look at this. Linya waved her hand and an image appeared on the white wall. Qingqiu and Huamin were having breakfast with the two kids. It was a harmonious scene. Huamin felt a slight pain in his heart. After the explosion, no one remembers you. Their Huamin has gone back. Look, the man you've trusted and loved for so many years is just like that. He can't recognize you. He even slept with Layla. Your man betrayed you physically and mentally. He betrayed you. Shut up. Huamin turned around with red eyes and glared at Linya. His voice was a little hoarse. Qingqiu won't do that. He's not that kind of person. I don't believe he'll touch Layla. Then take a look at this. Linya smiled strangely. She changed the image again. Chapter 4190. Linya specially chose some photos that Layla sent back. In them, Layla was about to hug Chinchu, but she couldn't tell what Chinchu's emotions were. However, from the photos alone, the scene was indeed ambiguous. Are you trying to fool me with photoshopped photos? Huamin sneered. You're an expert hacker yourself. You should know if these are photoshopped. Stop lying to yourself. Those ordinary people don't deserve you. Stay with mommy. Stay with mommy. I really don't understand. Are you my biological mother? Huamian held her belly as tears rolled down her cheeks. Other mothers do what's best for their children. They want their daughters to be happy. But you keep saying that you're my mother, but what did you do? You created a monster that looks exactly like me. Then you let that monster replace me and sneak into my beloved home to confuse my family. You watched me suffer. You don't deserve to be my mother. You're not even 1/10,000th of my adoptive mother. Linya, if you're really Linya, I can only say that Dad was blind to fall in love with such a terrifying person like you. Huamin scolded Linya. She was such a gentle person and was a good child who respected her adoptive mother and mother-in-law. Now she was scolding her biological mother. It was obvious that Linya had forced her into a corner. The thought of that monster facing her family in her own home made her feel heartbroken. Huamin's heart ached. It wasn't because he was worried that the woman would sleep in the same bed as Chinchu. More importantly, she might hurt her two daughters at any time. That was what Huamin was most worried about. It's okay if you don't understand now. When you slowly understand my painstaking efforts, you'll know how I feel. I don't blame you, Mian. Mommy doesn't blame you. Surprisingly, Linya didn't get angry. Instead, she looked at Huamin lovingly. She looked like the Virgin Mary, which made Huamin want to vomit. Huamin glared at Linya. Don't ever call me Mom. You don't deserve it. My lord. Take her to rest. Yes. Miss Mian, let's go. Huamin knew that Linya would not tell her the truth in such a short time. Therefore, no matter how much she asked, she couldn't get an answer. It was better to recuperate and slowly think of a way to escape. At the very least, she had to protect the little guy in her belly first. Then she would think of a way to escape, go home and see her beloved family. On the way back, Huamin did not say a word. He was in low spirits. Miss Mian, please don't talk back to the master in the future. All these years, I've never seen anyone who dared to talk to her like that. Or rather, to be able to survive after being so presumptuous. If it wasn't for her love for you, perhaps you would have already. Messiah didn't finish her sentence, but Huamin knew what she was going to say. He had talked back to that woman just now, but he was still safe and sound. He wondered if he was lucky to escape. Messiah. Layla is also a clone. She created her, right? Huamin had roughly guessed the origin of Layla, who looked exactly like him from Linya in the cave. Yes, Miss Layla was cloned exactly like Miss Huamin. She used Miss Huamin's cells, so you're closer than twins. You can say that she's the second you, Messiah said word by word. Chapter 4191. But what's the point of her creating this monster? Huamin's face was cold the whole time. This was the most shocking thing she had ever seen in her life. A person who claimed to be her biological mother. She had personally created a monster that looked exactly like her, and then, she conspired with this monster to destroy her family. Actually, at this point Messiah seemed to want to say something but stopped. Huamin knew that she was just a maid and didn't want to make things difficult for her. Messiah, I won't force you to say it. I understand your difficulties. She lowered her voice and whispered to Messiah. I actually saw Master create Miss Layla with my own eyes. In fact, you might not believe it even if I tell you. Master created Miss Layla many years ago on your birthday night. Master couldn't suppress her longing for her daughter, so she created Miss Layla. At first, she just wanted an identical daughter to accompany her. Later. Obviously, Messiah didn't dare to say what happened later. What did Linya want to do? What was her purpose? There must be a huge conspiracy behind it. However, Huamin felt that Messiah was telling the truth. She missed me. Why didn't she come to me? Why did she create a monster? I don't understand this logic. That's because she couldn't find you. Like your father, as parents, they all want you to live a peaceful and happy life. If that's the case, why did you disturb me now and ask that monster to replace me? Huamin suppressed the anger in his heart and confronted Messiah. That's because a wish of Master's all these years is about to come true. A grand plan? A grand plan? Huamin felt that his guess was right. She created a clone of Linya and went to her father's side. Then she hid in this underwater palace for so many years. It definitely wasn't to cultivate Buddhism. She must be plotting something. But what exactly is she plotting? Huamin couldn't figure it out and felt that his brain capacity wasn't enough. Messiah? Since she wanted me and created my clone, what about Yen? Does she have one too? Could there be someone who looks exactly like Xiao Yen? Huamin didn't even dare to think about it. Yen herself was already very powerful. She had a clone, then what would she become? Miss Yen doesn't have a clone, because she isn't the Lord's daughter. What are you talking about? Yen is my sister. How can she not be Linya's daughter? I don't think Master told you that, Miss Yen. She's just your half-sister. Same father but different mothers? How could this be? Messiah, you're not joking with me, are you? Huamin was in disbelief. Your subordinate doesn't dare to joke. These are all true, Messiah said very seriously. But Huamin just couldn't figure it out. But that's not right. What half-father? Could it be that Dad had other wives? That's not right. This doesn't make sense. This conflicted with all of Huamin's previous hostages. Just as he was wondering, Huamin suddenly had a flash of inspiration and a terrifying thought struck him. She nervously and excitedly held Messiah's hand. Messiah? Do you mean, my sister Lu Yen is the daughter of Linya's clone? Seeing that Huamin had finally figured it out, Messiah nodded slightly. Huamin felt like his head was about to explode. How many years had that clone Linya lived with Dad? How could a genius like Dad not realize that it was fake? And he even had Yen with the clone? Then, would Chinchu not be able to recognize Layla in the end and have a child with that monster? After this thought came to him, Huamin felt his entire body turn cold. He didn't dare to think about it anymore. Chapter 4192. At the Shin family mansion. Wei Ying and Shin Mingxi returned from the business banquet. They drove only one car, which was Wei Ying's black Porsche Panamera. Shin Mingxi was drunk, so he sat in the front passenger seat. He put his hand on Wei Ying's thigh from time to time, looking very heartwarming. After remarrying Wei Ying, Shin Mingxi worked harder and didn't rely on the Wei family. Instead, he built up the Shin family, which was on the verge of bankruptcy. Although he was busy with his business, it didn't affect his time with Wei Ying. Sure enough, as time went by, the last one was always the best. Shin Mingxi gradually realized this and cherished the time he spent with Wei Ying more than ever. Honey, are you tired? I'll drive for a while. No, we'll be home in a few minutes. You drank too much and it's dangerous. I'll drive. Wei Ying smiled. After they got out of the car, Shin Mingxi took off his jacket and wrapped it around Wei Ying. It's really not necessary. Is it that cold? You'd better wear more. Look at the short sleeves of your suit. Your arms are exposed. They're 3/4 sleeves, Wei Ying explained, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Let's go in. I asked Auntie Wu to make some white fungus lotus seeds. Drink it while it's hot. Wei Ying was wrapped in Shin Mingxi's arms sweetly as the couple walked into the mansion. The housemaid placed 2 bowls of white fungus lotus seeds on the coffee table in the living room. Shin Mingxi picked up the remote control and switched to the finance channel to watch the news. Wei Ying suddenly thought of something. Tugging at Shin Mingxi's sleeve, she asked, Honey, have you noticed something strange recently? What? Lord Su seems to be very close to Sister Huamin. Isn't that normal? Huamin is Lord Su's goddess. Shin Mingxi thought it was normal. That's true, but they seem to be interacting with each other quite frequently recently. They've had dinner together a few times already, and Sister Huamin even posted about it on her WeChat moments. Yeah, this doesn't seem like Huamin's personality. But I heard that she and Lord Su have been different since they came back from Yunnan. Maybe it's because they survived a disaster that they cherish their current lives even more? Shin Mingxi analyzed. I hope so. But won't Sister Huamin's husband mind? They're together so often. Wei Ying could tell just by looking at Huamin's WeChat moments. Therefore, the person involved must have felt even worse. But since it was their family business, Wei Ying only told Shin Mingxi about it in private. First hospital after Qin Chu picked up the twins from school, he went directly to the hospital to visit his mother-in-law. Many of the medical staff in the first hospital used to be Huamin's colleagues or subordinates. Therefore, when they saw the 2 children, everyone was very enthusiastic. Some doctors on duty even bought snacks, milk and toys for them. It was obvious that Huimin was very popular. Faced with everyone's enthusiasm, the twins were very polite. After getting their daddy's permission, they accepted the toys and thanked him politely. "Thank you, Auntie. You're welcome. They're so cute. The two little guys are getting more and more beautiful. By the way, where's Vice Director Hua? How come I haven't seen her in the past few days?" A doctor asked casually. After all, Huimin's mother and sister-in-law were both hospitalized here. Huimin hadn't shown up even once, so everyone found it strange. "Oh, Mian hasn't been feeling well recently and is recuperating at home." Qin Chu found a random excuse. "President Qin, if Vice Director Hua comes to the hospital, you must tell us. We haven't seen her in a long time." Chapter 4193. Okay, I'll definitely tell her. Thank you, everyone. After dealing with everyone's enthusiasm, Qin Chu walked into the ward with the twins. Jixin was wiping Bella's face, so Yang Meirong was alone in the room. When the children came in, she was watching TV. "Grandma, Grandma." The two little guys ran over one after another and called out sweetly. Yang Meirong was in a good mood. She immediately got up and leaned against the headboard. "Oh, my babies, come, let Grandma take a look. Be careful, Grandma is still sick and is still getting an injection. Don't touch Grandma's fore," Qin Chu reminded them in a low voice. "Got it, Daddy." Little Bean nodded mischievously and took out a lollipop that someone had just given her. She handed it to Grandma. "Grandma, have some candy. When I was sick and had an injection, my mommy would give me candy and I wouldn't feel so much pain." "You're a smart girl, you're a glutton." Yang Meirong smiled brightly. "Grandma, do you want some water? I'll get you some." Pudding, on the other hand, was more low-key and wanted to pour water for Grandma. "Grandma, why are you sick? You were so careless. Did you go out to square dance and forget to wear long johns?" Little Bean asked with her hands on her hips. Don't make Grandma laugh. My stomach hurts from laughing." As soon as Little Bean opened her mouth, everyone was overjoyed. Qin Chu took the opportunity to sit on the sofa in the ward and take out his phone. He opened his email and read the company's emails. The two children were like pistachios coaxing Grandma. When Grandma was young, she didn't wear long johns because she wanted to look beautiful. But now that I'm old, I have to wear them. I wear them every day. Pudding walked to the end of the bed and gently lifted the blanket. "Grandma, are your legs sore? I'll rub them for you." No. My babies, I'm happy that you came to see me. You don't have to do anything. I know you're good children." Yang Meirong had an 4-drip in one hand and her other hand never left the two children. She patted Pudding's head and kissed Little Bean's face. She was so happy. During dinner, Yang Meirong ate more than usual when the nurse brought her a nutritious meal. The two children sang English songs and danced the Little Swan Ballet for their grandmother. Yang Meirong was elated. They stayed there until 7 o'clock in the evening, and the two children were a little sleepy. Qin Chu then stood up and said, "Mom, we'll go back first. We'll visit you in a few days." "Yes, the road is slippery. Be careful when you drive, Chu," Yang Meirong said. "Sure." As Qin Chu walked out with the twins, Little Bean suddenly asked a strange question. "Daddy, why isn't the new grandpa here to take care of Grandma? Grandma is so sick. Isn't he Grandma's husband?" Qin Chu was speechless. Chapter 4194. That grandpa. I reckon he'll be here soon. Qin Chu had a feeling that if there was really a big plan behind this, Professor Lu would definitely come. In that case, Professor Lu would definitely show up. After all, this was beyond his ability to deal with. Imagine someone as powerful as Lu Yen had gone to Yunnan with him. But after the explosion, Lu Yen mysteriously disappeared. How terrifying was the power behind it that could make Lu Yen disappear without a trace in the blink of an eye, and even her corpse was nowhere to be found. No one knew. But Qin Chu knew that those people weren't simple. In fact, ever since he and Rick found out that Zhao Qingyao's backer was related to the Doomsday Reaper, they had been worried. Qin Chu had begun to worry. All these years the Doomsday Reaper was only a legend and no one had seen it. Qin Chu's only keepsake, the lighter. It was given to him by a mysterious woman in the US 4 years ago. Could it be that those people had been targeting him since 4 years ago? The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Later, Qin Chu didn't hear what the twins asked him. At the headquarters of Imperial Star at the last minute, Suyu worked overtime and held a high-level meeting. When he came out it was already 8 p.m. When he went downstairs he ran into Han Yueyao on the first floor. "Why are you still here?" He was puzzled. "Spicy hot pot. Can't you taste it?" Spicy hot pot. Suyu was confused. "Yeah, I danced until late too. I heard from my agent that you worked late too. You and probably haven't eaten yet, right? Let's go eat spicy hot pot together. I know there's a new restaurant across the street and it's super delicious. The chili is all flown in from Chongqing. The owner is from Sichuan." Han Yueyao said so much because she wanted Suyu to eat with her. And snickered and coughed. "Well, you two go ahead. I can't eat anything too spicy or I'll get a stomachache. I've been craving Shangxi Rujiamo recently. I'll drive to the Shangxi Liangpi in the commercial square to eat." "Alright, let's go then. Come back to pick me up after you're done eating." Suyu gave the car key to An and walked with Han Yueyao to the spicy hot pot restaurant she had mentioned. Actually, these snacks were what young girls liked to eat. Suyu really didn't like these. He agreed because there were a lot of people near the elevators on the first floor. If he refused, the little girl would lose face. So Suyu went to the spicy hot pot restaurant with her without hesitation. There were a lot of people in the Malatang shop. Fortunately, the two of them managed to find a table for two in the corner. She asked excitedly, "Boss Su, what do you want to eat?" "Anything is fine. Just order." Suyu didn't know how to cook because he hadn't eaten it before. She went to the buffet area and picked up a lot of vegetables. Since Suyu was a carnivore, she added more meat. When she paid the bill it was 98 yuan. She took 2 bottles of iced soda, which was famous locally for its sweet and sour taste. It cost a total of 102 yuan. When Han Yueyao sat back down, Suyu couldn't help but sigh. "Am I too outdated? I don't know what these things are. Isn't spicy hot pot a few yuan for a big bowl? Why did you spend more than 100 yuan? How many years has it been since you last ate this? A few yuan is the price 10 years ago, right?" Han Yueyao teased Suyu. Suyu was speechless. "How was the sushi you had with Sister Mian for lunch?" Han Yueyao asked casually. "It was delicious and authentic. Tasted similar to the ones I had in Osaka. I'll take you there when I'm free." Suyu was scrolling through his WeChat moments on his cell phone and said casually. But Han Yueyao felt sweet in her heart, and her cheeks blushed. Chapter 4195. As the two of them were eating, 2 girls walked over from a nearby table. They looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. "No autographs, no photos," Suyu said in a formal tone. After all, Suyu had many fangirls. So there was a reason why he didn't like to come to such a civilian restaurant. Usually he would have a private room for his gatherings. This was the first time he ate in such a public place. In order to get to know Huamin better, he went to Oxan's ramen a few times. Once he was blocked by a group of girls in Oxan's ramen, asking for autographs and photos. The sleeves of the new Armani shirt he bought for Suyu were torn open. From then on, Suyu decided not to play the role of a black-faced uncle and directly rejected them. Who knew? The 2 girls ignored Suyu and looked at Han Yueyao politely. "Wow. Han Yueyao, you're so beautiful in person. Your face is so small. We're fans of your dance. We're all from the dance academy. The dances you participated in were very difficult, but you did a great job. We like you so much." "Thank you," Han Yueyao replied politely. "Can we take a photo with you?" "Of course." "Wow, you're awesome." So the 2 girls took photos with Han Yueyao. Then they left happily. Suyu looked embarrassed. Han Yueyao didn't know what to say. She was afraid that if she offended the president, he would fling his sleeves and leave. "Boss, is the spicy hot pot not ready yet?" Suyu shouted at the top of his voice. "Right away." Then the waiter brought 2 bowls of steaming spicy hot pot. Suyu buried his head in the food to ease the awkwardness. Seeing his cute appearance, Han Yueyao almost laughed out loud. "Eat slowly. Super spicy." After Han Yueyao said this, Suyu felt the impact on his taste buds. "Give me water." She used her chopsticks to open the iron lid of the soda bottle, looking very dashing. Then he hurriedly passed it to Suyu. Suyu gulped down 2 big mouthfuls before he finally felt better. Sichuan's chili really lived up to its reputation. The way you opened the bottle just now. Isn't he super handsome?" Han Yueyao said smugly. Well, can it also be used to open beer? Of course. I learned it from my dad. When he made it I thought it was so cool. I wanted to learn it, Han Yueyao said proudly. Teach me. Suyu was domineering and asked Han Yueyao to teach him. Sure, take the money. You really only have money in your eyes. Money, money, money everywhere. Suyu blushed with shame. It's fine if you don't want to pay. Call me master and I'll teach you. You're shameless. You want me to call you master? Suyu looked at the arrogant little girl sitting across from him in amusement. If you're willing to call me master I can be shameless for a while, Han Yueyao reacted quickly and retorted. Pretend I didn't say anything. Suyu lowered his head and continued to eat the spicy hot pot. Han Yueyao naughtily picked up her bottle of soda. Then she picked up her chopsticks and performed another wonderful performance. With a bang, the bottle cap was opened without him seeing how she did it. Suyu couldn't help but raise his head again, his eyes filled with admiration. I'll give you an 88 yuan red pocket. Teach me, he bargained. You're a profiteer. You want to steal my skills for only 88 yuan? In your dreams. Han Yueyao was even more smug. Chapter 4196. I'll give you an extra 10 yuan at most. 98 yuan. Are you going to teach me or not? You're the president, the big boss, but you're asking for 98 yuan. I despise you. I won't teach you. Whoa. Little girl, you've got guts. You're all grown up now? You chose to go against me because you're famous and have fans. Do you believe that I'll make things difficult for you? Suyu reached out and naughtily flicked Han Yueyao's head. He felt like he was playing with a child. Han Yueyao's heart was blooming with sweetness. She didn't expect Suyu to be so naive and cute. It's good to make things difficult for you. Come on, remember to make things difficult for me. Suyu chuckled. The best thing about Han Yueyao was that she could say whatever was on her mind. So he didn't have to pretend to be a big boss in front of her. He didn't have to think about whether he would get angry if he said too much. Instead, he felt relaxed. The atmosphere was so good that Suyu's appetite was stimulated. After finishing his spicy hot pot, he snatched a few bites from Han Yueyao. After they finished eating, they walked back to Han Yueyao's dorm. Suyu sent in a WeChat message and asked him to pick him up at Han Yueyao's dorm after they finished eating. On their way back, Han Yueyao suddenly thought of what happened during the day and asked Suyu, President Su, Sister Mion seems to be very close to you recently. Yeah. Mion has been acting strange recently. Is there something on her mind? Han Yueyao felt that Huamin wasn't the kind of person who would take the initiative to look for Suyu again and again. After all, Huamin knew how to avoid suspicion. Yeah. She seems to be on bad terms with Qin Chu recently. How can that be? President Qin is famous for doting on his wife. Han Yueyao was surprised. Suyu's expression was unnatural. Maybe it's because too many things have happened recently. No matter how powerful or talented the couple is, they're still ordinary people and have emotions. The loss of the child is a big blow to everyone. Qin Chu has feelings for her and Mion feels uncomfortable. So, everyone's in a bad mood. When we talk we have conflicts. It's okay. I'll try to persuade her. Then, will President Qin feel uncomfortable with Sister Mion being so close to you? Han Yueyao was worried. Because Suyu was a public figure, many paparazzi were willing to take pictures. If someone were to take a picture of it and use it as a topic of discussion, it would break the pressure of public opinion. In the end it might not end well. Huamian used to pay attention to this and rarely saw Suyu alone. But now for some reason he kept looking for Suyu. Even Han Yueyao found it strange. But Suyu thought it was all because of that incident and didn't find Huamin's behavior strange. They walked to the door of the dorm. Let's go back. It's cold outside. Don't stand here like an idiot, Suyu said. Is the spicy hot pot delicious? Han Yueyao looked up at Suyu, her heart pounding. Yeah. Not bad. Then I'll treat you to it often, Han Yueyao said. Suyu's expression was unnatural. He changed the topic. How's the cooking reality show going? I'm still learning. I heard we'll shoot the first season in Thailand. Isn't that good? You can take it as a free trip. Suyu chuckled. Then I'll be away from the country for a week. Yeah. Thank God. I won't see you for a week. That way I won't have to quarrel with others. Did you miss me even a little bit when I was abroad for so long? Han Yueyao was unwilling to give up and questioned him boldly. Chapter 4197. Sure enough, Su Yu blushed when he heard Han Yueyao's question. It's late. Hurry up and go in. En's car is here. Su Yu didn't answer Han Yueyao's question. He didn't know how to respond to a girl's confession. He seemed to have forgotten how good he was at flirting with girls and indulging himself in debauchery before he met Huamin a few years ago. By the time Anne's car arrived, Su Yu had already walked more than half a mile. He was trying to avoid Han Yueyao's questions. That girl always asked explicit questions. Su Yu didn't know how to answer her. President Su, how was your dinner with Miss Han? And began to gossip. Pretty good. President Su, if it's a full score of 10, how many points would you give Miss Han? And asked as he drove. What do you mean? Su Yu glanced at An in puzzlement. It's the scoring that's very popular on the internet recently. I'm just asking you. Tell me, I'm curious. Han Yueyao is a hard-working and ambitious girl. She's pretty and a good person. If it's a full score of 10, I'll give her an 8. What about Dr. Hua? 10, Su Yu blurted out. Sure enough, no matter how many shortcomings Huamin had, he was always the best in Su Yu's eyes. Hey, you're biased. I won't ask. Shaoan thought to himself, isn't this bias a little too obvious? In fact, Huamin was far less good-looking than Han Yueyao, and his figure wasn't as sexy as Han Yueyao's, who was a dancer. Even Huamin didn't smile as much as Han Yueyao. His face was serious. But no matter how bad she was, Su Yu loved her. That was the main point. Seeing his boss's attention was still on Dr. Hua and stopped asking. He had wanted to set up a relationship between Han Yueyao and his boss. But now it seemed impossible. After all, his boss hadn't thought in that direction yet. Gao family, he had thought that after Jingda's death, the vampire's case would be over. Gao Ran would be able to accompany his wife and son on a vacation. Unexpectedly, such a case still happened. It was 7:00 in the evening. A kindergarten reported that 2 5-year-old children, a boy and a girl, had gone missing. He checked the surveillance footage but found nothing. This kindergarten was a kind of long-term nursery. The children whose parents were especially busy and had no time to take care of them were placed here. They ate, lived, and attended classes here and were only brought home on weekends. At night, when the life teacher was bathing the children, she realized that there was one person missing. He searched everywhere, but there was no sign of him. In the end, he panicked and went to look for the principal. Then the principal brought the teacher to the police. Originally, in China, a missing person would not be registered if it was less than 24 hours. However, when Gao Ran heard about this matter, he felt that it was very strange. Why did she lose the child again? Last time, when the children's bodies were fished out from the lake, their parents had cried miserably. This time, were the 2 children really lost by accident, or were they stolen by a group of kidnappers? Or was there another reason? Gao Ran led his team to search for clues all night but found nothing. When he drove home dejectedly, the children were already asleep. Zhu Lingling sat on the sofa with her legs crossed in displeasure. Honey, you're still awake? Chief Gao, you must keep your word. When are you going to take Boyuan and me on a vacation, okay? Zhu Lingling questioned him with a dark face. Chapter 4198. Upon hearing this, Gao Ran licked his dry lips guiltily. Then he took off his jacket, sat down beside Zhu Lingling and put an arm around her shoulder. Zhu Lingling shrugged him, showing her dissatisfaction with his late return. Honey, listen to me, don't tell me that. I just want to ask you, are you going or not? Zhu Lingling felt wronged. She thought that Gao Ran would have more free time now that he was promoted. At least he didn't have to work as a leader. However, she didn't know that he was even busier now that he was the chief of the police force. He worked on many cases himself. Zhu Lingling knew Gao Ran well. He worked so hard not because he was addicted to being an official. He really liked this job. Gao Ran had a clear goal when he was in high school. Being a police officer was like his father. It was a lie to say that he wanted to serve the people, but he wanted to get rid of the evil and bring peace to the good. However, ever since Gao Ran was promoted, Zhu Lingling and her family rarely went out on weekends. Not to mention going to Northern Europe with their parents to see the aurora and Hawaii like other children. Gao Buyan was still young and didn't know how to complain, but Zhu Lingling did. She also envied others who had husbands who loved and cared for them. Yes, yes, yes. I promised you that I'd go. When will you go? Zhu Lingling pressed. Can you wait until I'm done with this case? Gao Ran felt a little guilty. Another case, another case. Do you spend your days with cases or with me? Have you forgotten about this family? Of course not. Lingling, don't be angry. You have to understand me. Sometimes, Gao Ran was also helpless. The job required someone to fill the position. Upon hearing this, Zhu Lingling got even angrier. She stood up in a flash and pointed at Gao Ran. Her eyes were red as she said aggrievedly, Gao Ran, ever since I've been with you, don't you know how much I've been understanding of you? While other people were eating steak and holding roses in a Western restaurant on Valentine's Day, you were working overtime. When other people are celebrating Goddess Day and watching movies together, you're working overtime. When other people are celebrating their wedding anniversary, you can't wait to spend the entire day being lovey-dovey with each other, but you're still working overtime. When it's my birthday, you have to come back in the middle of the night. The cake has already melted and the dishes have already turned cold. In fact, how many times have I driven your son to the hospital in the middle of the night when he was sick with a high fever? Are you the busiest person in the world? Are you the President of the United States or the Chairman of the United Nations? Zhu Lingling burst out like a volcano, probably because she had been suppressing her anger for too long. Gao Ran's mood was very complicated. He knew that his wife had been wronged, but what could he do? Don't tell me I'm going to be a bureau chief who eats food but doesn't do anything? That wasn't like him either. Maybe the two of them were arguing too loudly, but Gao Buyan woke up in a daze. He opened the door and walked out. Mom, Dad, did you two fight? Zhu Lingling turned her head away. Her eyes were red and she didn't say anything. Gao Ran picked up his son and kissed him in his arms. It's okay. We didn't fight. Mom scolded Dad one-sidedly. Dad accepted it completely. Hey, why don't you two give birth to a younger sister for me? Gao Buyuan's words made Zhu Lingling and Gao Ran speechless. Who said that to you? Grandpa and Grandma said it. They said that if there was a younger sister in the house, the atmosphere would be better. Mom would be busier to take care of a younger sister, so she wouldn't worry about whether Dad is busy or not. Your grandparents are really good at talking. Zhu Lingling was so angry that she almost rolled her eyes. Ah, what if we have a younger brother? Gao Ran was amused by his son. Chapter 4199. We don't need a younger brother. I'm the only boy in our family. Obviously, Gao Buyun didn't want a younger brother. He only needed a younger sister. What if we have a younger brother? Gao Ran's interest was piqued and he continued to tease his son. Then we'll have to throw him into a cesspool. Gao Ran was speechless, Zhu Lingling was speechless. Then I don't think we should have a younger brother. You'll be the only one. Gao Ran didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Don't fight. Little Bean told me that children who grow up in a quarreling environment will be very grumpy. You don't want me to grow up to be a grumpy man, right? Zhu Lingling was speechless. Gao Ran, you're right. No, Little Bean told me that. It's all good advice. Think about it. Gao Buyuan's grown-up tone eased the atmosphere a lot, and it wasn't as tense as before. Seeing that his parents were silent, Gao Buyun asked again, I need to pee. Can someone come with me to the bathroom now? Zhu Lingling secretly wiped her tears, picked up her son and carried him to the bathroom. Gao Buyun had saved his dad, but Gao Ran's heart was still heavy. He kept reading the latest updates from his colleagues in the group chat on his phone. The two kids still hadn't been found. The parents and the kindergarten hadn't received any ransom calls. If that was the case, the situation seemed to be even worse. Gao Ran picked up his phone and sent a few voice messages to Qin Chu on WeChat, briefly explaining the situation. Gao Ran emphasized, Chu, you're sure Jingde is dead, right? Did he come back from the dead? Why do I feel that this is very similar to his? After a while, Qin Chu replied, I killed Jingde with my own hands. His body has been burned to ashes. Gao Ran trusted Qin Chu's ability. He didn't seem like an unreliable person. But since Jingde was dead, who was the culprit of the missing children? Damn it. Sea City, which had been peaceful for 100 years, had recently been in a state of panic. The pressure from the higher-ups was a small matter. The key was that Gao Ran understood the feelings of the parents when their children were gone. He was also a father, so he worked overtime without sleep, hoping to find some clues. Unfortunately, he found nothing. It was as if a deity had committed a crime, leaving no evidence behind. South Hill Manor. Chin-Chu was in the study. Looking at the WeChat message that Gao Ran had sent him, he started to have doubts in his heart. It was a fact that Jingde was dead. Then, there was only one person who was the most suspicious, and that was the woman at home. She had enough time to commit the crime, but why did she and Jingde keep torturing and killing children? Chin-Chu didn't interrogate him, but Jingde was indeed a monster. He drained the blood of those children, which was why there were rumors about vampires. Could it be that this woman was also? The more Chin-Chu thought about it, the more confused he became. He opened the door and went downstairs. Huamin had just returned from outside, carrying an exquisite lunchbox in his hand. "Mommy, you're back," Little Bean called out affectionately. Pudding glanced at her and didn't call her mommy. "I went out for a walk and saw the new pastries from Wan Hajai, so I bought some. It's very interesting. You can choose the ingredients and let them process them. You can eat them without worry. Wow, there's delicious food. Thank you, Mommy." The little foodie didn't dare to say anything. She took the lunchbox and opened it. Indeed, there were colorful pastries inside. "Sis, come and eat with us," Little Bean called out to Pudding. "Mommy, I have something to discuss with you," Pudding looked at Huamin and said weakly. Chapter 4200. Huamin took off his jacket and hung it up. Then he sat down on the sofa and leaned back. "Baby, what is it?" "My classmate's golden retriever gave birth to a baby. I want to adopt one." "Wow, that's a good idea. I really like golden retrievers too." Little Bean was overjoyed. It was natural for children to like animals. Unexpectedly, Huamin's face darkened. "Oh, why, Mommy? Don't you like dogs too?" "I like them, but they're not clean. They have parasites on them," Huamin said. "They won't. We'll take good care of them. We'll give them regular injections, baths, and checkups. There won't be any bacteria." "Don't say any more. I won't agree to this. We can't have any cats or dogs at home in the future. I don't like them." It was obvious that Huamin disliked small animals. "Mommy used to like them a lot. You were the one who took care of the rabbits that Sis and I raised." Little Bean looked aggrieved. "The past is the past. The present is the present. I have enough to worry about raising you two children at home. I don't have the time to raise a pet." Huamin's words made the two children very unhappy. But no one dared to disobey her. Her grandparents had gone to a good friend's house and hadn't returned yet. The servants didn't dare to interrupt. They all knew that the young madam had the final say at home. "I'll ask Daddy about this. Maybe he'll agree." Pudding seemed to be unhappy with Huamin's reaction. She didn't give up just because her mother said that she couldn't raise it. Instead, she said that she would ask Daddy. This sentence completely infuriated Huamin. "Pudding, stop right there." Pudding didn't seem to hear him. She wanted to go upstairs to find Chin-Chu. Then Huamin moved quickly and grabbed Pudding's collar. With a fierce tug from behind, Pudding was easily dragged back. He had to admit that this woman was very strong. "I'm talking to you, didn't you hear me? Is this how you talk to Mommy?" Huamin glared at him. Pudding didn't say anything. She just looked at the woman in front of her with dissatisfaction. "You're not old, but you have quite a temper. Let me tell you, Pudding, you can't keep a dog. It's useless to ask your daddy. I have the final say in this matter." "What right do you have to be so domineering?" "Because I'm your mother." "My mother wouldn't be like you. You're not like my mother at all. You've become so scary. I don't like the current you. You're too selfish and cold." Pudding's emotions, which she had been suppressing for days, suddenly burst out. Many hurtful words were also blurted out. Huamin went up and slapped Pudding hard on the face. Perhaps it was because her fingernails were too long. They scratched Pudding's face and left a bloody mark. Pudding covered her face in shock. Looking at the woman in front of her, she felt that she was both scary and unfamiliar. Pudding was also scared out of her wits, and the pastries in her hand fell to the ground. Her mother hit her sister and even scratched her sister's face. "Sis, your face is blood." Pudding seemed to have lost the ability to speak. Huamin seemed to feel that she had gone too far. She calmed down and gently coaxed Pudding. "Mommy didn't want it to be like this, Pudding. You'll know in the future that Mommy did it for your own good. Small animals aren't as clean as you think. They'll infect you with a lot of diseases. At this moment Chin Chu came downstairs. Pudding, come here, he said coldly. Huamin, or Layla, looked up and saw Chin Chu's cold eyes. She became nervous. Chapter 4201. Daddy. Pudding turned around and ran upstairs, hugging Chin Chu's leg. Honey, listen to me. I didn't do it on purpose. Before Huamin could finish, Chin Chu picked up Pudding and went back to the study. Scared, Pudding dropped the pastries and followed him. The servants left, not daring to stay in the living room. In the study, Chin Chu found a first aid kit and applied medicine on Pudding's wound. Pudding was so young that her face was swollen from the slap. Chin Chu's heart ached. Daddy, I'm fine. It doesn't hurt. You can have a dog. Daddy will pick up the golden retriever tomorrow and buy it a kennel and dog food. What about Mommy? Don't worry about her. Pudding didn't dare to speak. After treating the kids' wounds, Chin Chu instructed the two kids to take care of themselves. You two stay in the study. I'll go down and talk to her. Daddy, don't fight. Our family needs to be harmonious. Pudding held her daddy's hand and said, "Hey, Daddy knows." When Chin Chu went downstairs, Huamin was still sitting on the sofa, looking at the news on her cell phone. She didn't seem to care about Pudding's wound. Seeing Chin Chu come down, she put away her cell phone in a panic. Honey, how's Pudding? She's fine. I've treated her wound. Pudding is young and she's still a child. It's inevitable for her to throw a tantrum. But as her mother, how could you be so cruel? Honey, I really didn't do it on purpose. I was angry. My nails are long and I accidentally cut them. I've cut them. Huamin raised her finger. Indeed, her long nails were gone. She didn't want to arouse Chin Chu's suspicion, so she continued to play the victim. She did not like those two brats, so this time she took the opportunity to punish them. Pudding, in particular, seemed to be at odds with her recently. Even though she said she was sorry, Pudding didn't want to offend her. But in her heart, Layla felt very satisfied. You've never treated our daughter like this before? Chin Chu looked at her and said word by word. Then you wouldn't have treated me so coldly in the past. Let's not talk about the past, Huamin argued. But the child is also your child. Chin Chu deliberately said this, not wanting to let the other party know that he had seen through her. I know. I'm just trying to educate him. There's no point in raising a dog. But I agreed. You have to keep the dogs as compensation for your daughter. Also, from now on, you're not allowed to touch Pudding and Little Bean. Otherwise, I won't go easy on you. Chin Chu was really angry, but he didn't hit her. Although he really wanted to, he felt that it wouldn't be good to fight at home. The maids must have thought that he was a domestic abuser who liked to beat his wife. Chin Chu was so smart that he didn't want to be caught. And Layla thought that this matter was over just like that. She didn't take Chin Chu's warning to heart. After Chin Chu vented his anger, he drove out with the twins, saying that they were going to have supper. Layla didn't think much of it and played with her phone at home. However, there was a problem that she needed to pay attention to. What would she do if she raised a dog at home? After all, small animals were very repulsive to people like her. After taking the children out to eat, it was already 10 o'clock when they came back. Chin Chu sent the children back and went straight to his grandmother's room. Then he went out again to see Rick. Rick, I need you to do me a favor. What? Find someone with good driving skills. Tomorrow drive and hit Huamin, Chin Chu said very clearly. What? Rick thought that there was something wrong with his ears and that he had heard wrong. Chapter 4202. You heard me right. You want to hit Huamin? Rick repeated. Yes. Your wife. Yes. Why? Are you out of your mind? Is she your wife? She doesn't need to be killed or disabled. Just make her suffer a little, Chin Chu said expressionlessly. But why? Even if you two quarrel, you don't have to do this. Rick thought that Chin Chu would never hurt his wife because he was a man who would die for Huamin at any time. But today, such a man was asking him to find someone to hit Huamin? It was unbelievable. Rick, about this, I can't explain it in detail right now. I'll find a chance to explain it to you in the future. Right now I just need your help. Mion knows all my people, so I want you to help me. Also, you must find someone with good driving skills. Don't kill him. But there are many accidents in this kind of thing. If you fail, I think you should find another way. Don't worry. She won't die. I just want her to suffer a little. But Rick didn't dare to agree. He thought this was too strange. If Qin Chu regretted it in the future and Huamin was seriously injured, wouldn't he be in trouble? Looking at Rick's hesitation, Qin Chu looked into his eyes. Rick, do you trust me? Yes. Then please do me a favor, okay? Finally, Rick won over the hesitation in his heart and agreed. Then Qin Chu told him what he needed to do. Finally, the two separated and went home. Huamin was used to not sharing a bed with Qin Chu. She began to change her target. Ever since Jingda 002 disappeared mysteriously, she felt that she couldn't stay in this place for too long. Since she couldn't fulfill her original wish, she would seduce Su Yu and make Su Yu and Qin Chu fall out. In short, she wanted to destroy Huamin's reputation. She wanted to make her family restless. Huamin lay in bed with the dim light on. He sent Su Yu a WeChat message. Huamin, are you asleep? Su Yu, no. Huamin, I can't sleep. Let's talk? Su Yu, sure. What's wrong with Dr. Hua? Insomnia? Huamin, yeah. I keep thinking about the days when I was kidnapped with you in Yunnan. Su Yu, huh? Are you scared of being kidnapped? Are you traumatized? Huamin, no. I was thinking that if we didn't come back at that time and lived a life of farming in a small mountain village, would you be willing to come back? Su Yu, Mion, did you drink? Su Yu always felt that Huamin's advances toward him was an illusion. It shouldn't have happened. So he suspected that Huamin was in a bad mood and drank. Huamin, I didn't drink. Su Yu, I'm very sober. Su Yu, but if we didn't come back, what would happen to Qin Chu? What would happen to the twins? Huamin, life is unhappy because you have worries. That's why I made a hypothesis. After coming back, I realized that a lot of things between Qin Chu and me have changed. Su Yu, I don't think so. When I had dinner with Qin Chu the other day, I felt that he was still the same as before. Huamin, that's for you. He treats me differently. I'm starting to regret it. Su Yu, what do you regret? Huamin, I regret that I didn't choose you back then. Su Yu, huh? Dr. Hua, stop fooling around. Don't make fun of a loser like me, okay? Huamin, I'm not fooling around. Su Yu, let me ask you. Do you still have me in your heart? Chapter 4203. Su Yu didn't answer. He even suspected that Huamin's account had been hacked. Or did Qin Chu use Huamin's words to test him? Therefore, Su Yu didn't answer this question. On the other side, Huamin continued to ask Su Yu. Suddenly, she heard the sound of the door opening. She immediately stuffed her phone under her pillow and pretended to be asleep. As expected, Qin Chu came in. Mion, are you asleep? Yes. She closed her eyes and was in a daze. Today I met a client who sells imported special medicine. I asked for a bottle of stretch mark ointment from him. After the baby was gone, although you had surgery, you were pregnant for 9 months. There are still marks on your belly. It's very ugly, so I wanted to help you get rid of them. It's pretty good. Leave it here. I happen to be free today. Let me help you. Qin Chu sat down on the bed as he spoke. Huamin immediately panicked. Her belly was smooth and white without any patterns. This couldn't be imitated. She originally thought that if she could do intimate things with Qin Chu, she would wear a doo-doo or something so that he wouldn't find out. Then she would find a place to disguise her belly. However, when she saw that Qin Chu almost never slept in the same bed as her, she gave up on this idea. Now that Qin Chu suddenly came to her with the so-called stretch mark ointment, she was caught off guard. Honey, no need. It's too late, I'm so sleepy. Go to sleep. I'll help you. It won't disturb you. With that, Qin Chu reached out and was about to lift the blanket. Huamin reacted strongly and sat up from the bed. I said I don't need it. Why can't you understand me? Qin Chu, don't be so fickle, okay? Previously you treated me coldly and now you're enthusiastically applying ointment for me. Did you do something wrong to me in the company? Is that why you're acting so differently? She was smart enough to shift the topic back to Qin Chu. I just want to apply some ointment for you. Why do you have such a big reaction? Is there a scar on your stomach? Are you afraid that I will see it? No, I just don't like your flip-flopping attitude. I'll accept your ointment as a token of my gratitude. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Didn't you want me to stay? Qin Chu didn't get up. nor did he have any intention of leaving. Huamin or Layla looked at him in surprise. This man was really unpredictable. She thought that she knew him very well. But now, looking at his unfathomable expression, it was as if he had never understood him. "I thought you didn't like to sleep in the same bed as me?" Huamin stuttered. "But you're right. We're husband and wife. We can't live separately forever. Do you want to take a shower together?" Chinchu asked her. Layla felt guilty again. I didn't prepare today. Give me some time." "Hee, since when do we need time to do this kind of thing?" "Myun, you always say that I've changed, but why do you act like I don't know you anymore?" "I didn't. You're thinking too much. Okay, in that case, go to sleep. I won't disturb you. I'll put down the ointment for you. Remember to apply it." Huamin nodded. Seeing Chinchu walk out, she heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Chinchu didn't insist. Otherwise, she would have been exposed. It seemed that she had to find a place tomorrow to remove the stretch marks on her stomach. Then, she would sleep with Chinchu and go back to report. A meaningful smile appeared on Chinchu's face as he walked out of the room. Tomorrow he would be able to avenge Pudding. This woman, she definitely wouldn't expect it. Chapter 4204. Layla would never have dreamed that someone would attack her. After all, she was now taking over Huamin's identity. Who was Huamin? She was a princess, a fairy surrounded by stars. Chinchu doted on her, Suyu loved her, and a group of good friends protected her. But even so, there were still people who made a move on her. She had been going out frequently recently. In the morning, she planned to go to the hospital to see if there was any way to make stretch marks appear on her belly to fool Chinchu. Therefore, on the way to the first hospital, there was a crossroad with many people and cars. It was a green light and she was crossing the road normally. A sports car rushed out, heading straight for Huamin. It was so fast that she was dumbfounded. Actually, with Layla's ability, she could even dodge an explosion easily. This car was nothing. But the key was that this was a crossroad. There were many witnesses and cameras. If she really didn't follow the rules of science, she would be exposed. What if she couldn't explain her superpower? But she couldn't let herself die. Therefore, Layla could only react like a normal person. In the end, she was knocked to the ground by the sports car. Instantly, she felt a piercing pain all over her body. Then all 120,110 people were mobilized. They sent her to the first hospital. When Chinchu arrived, she had already been pushed out of the emergency room. Chinchu was still very nervous in front of her. "Doctor, is my wife all right?" "Don't worry, President Chin. Our deputy director is fine. He just suffered a little. She broke 3 ribs and needs to be hospitalized for a while." "Okay, that's good. It's good that she's fine." Chinchu then lowered his head and looked at Huamin. "Why were you so careless? You scared me to death." "I was very careful. I was crossing the road normally. It was that sports car that didn't have eyes and hit me. Hubby, you have to take revenge for me. Don't worry, leave it to me." Chinchu comforted Huamin for a while before he was pushed into the ward. Chinchu's lips curled into a smile. "If you touch my daughter again, you won't be so lucky." Actually, the main reason she bumped into Layla this time was to avenge Pudding. Her small face that was scratched by her looked pitiful. On the other hand, Chinchu wanted to see how capable Layla was and how she would react in such a crowded place. Chinchu had watched the video of the incident many times. In the end, he concluded that in that instant Huamin's dodging speed and reaction speed were many times faster than an ordinary person's. This was not an ability that could be achieved by humans. It seemed that this explained why she was able to dodge the explosion so easily. Fortunately, he purposely chose a crowded place this time so that she wouldn't dare to use her superpower so recklessly. Chinchu was sure that the sports car wouldn't be able to hurt her at all if it was at night, a place where there were few people around. Thinking that the enemy was so powerful and abnormal, Chinchu became even more cautious. He had to face her every day and continue to deal with her. Walking out of the hospital, Chinchu looked up at the starry sky. "Myun, you're waiting for me, right? You must be in a corner of the world, waiting for me to pick you up and bring you back." At the thought of Huamin, his wife, Chinchu's eyes filled with tears. To him, the days without Huamin were worse than death. Most importantly, he couldn't let anyone know that the real Huamin was missing. This man had always been like this. He swallowed all his pain and endured all his pain. Chapter 4205. Huomin's hospitalization was a top priority. His friends all rushed to the hospital to visit him. Jiang Xiaowei, Zhu Lingling, Qin Ning and Tang Chuan. Every day the hospital was overcrowded. The strange thing was that Qin Chu almost never brought the twins to see Huomin. When others asked, he would say that he didn't want to tell the children that their mother was sick. He was afraid that the children would get angry. Actually, the reason was that he didn't want the children to have too much contact with this monster. Zhu Lingling brought flowers and fruits and chatted with Huomin inside. Gao Ran and Qin Chu were in the corridor. Is there any progress in the case? Qin Chu asked him. There's no clue at all. The children are missing. I feel like I'm really useless. It's not your fault, Qin Chu said. How can it not be my fault? I'm the leader of public security. I'm not worthy, Gao Ran blamed himself deeply. Gao Ran, I know that you'll be even more panicked if I say something, but I have to tell you that similar cases might happen in the future. What do you mean? Anyway, send more people to watch over them. It might be very soon. Chu, what do you know? Gao Ran and Qin Chu had known each other for many years, so they had a tacit understanding. Seeing Qin Chu being so direct, Gao Ran couldn't sit still. I can't tell you right now, nor can I explain. All of this is just my deduction. Do you know who the murderer is? I'm not sure yet. Tell me, I'll catch them and interrogate them. Gao Ran was extremely anxious. It's not the time yet. Damn, what do you mean? Qin Chu didn't say anything else. However, he had a vague feeling that after this injury, Layla would commit another crime soon. Qin Chu's guess was right. Moreover, it didn't happen a few days later, but that night, a young lady who came to the hospital to visit her sick grandmother mysteriously disappeared. It was the same situation as the child who had gone missing from the kindergarten. The hospital pulled out all the surveillance cameras, but they did not find any clues. The child was gone and the parents were frantic. The whole hospital was in an uproar. As for Huomin, no, it should be Layla. At that moment he was lying on the hospital bed, leisurely watching the news and listening to music. She was in a good mood after eating and drinking her fill. Logically speaking, since the hospital had a blood bank, they could just steal some blood bags and be done with it. But that wasn't Layla's style. She had to eat live, fresh food to taste good. It was just like how some people like to eat fish, but they didn't like to eat dead fish. They only liked fresh and freshly killed fish. The nurse who came to change her dressing gossiped as she changed her dressing. The hospital has been very strange recently. Everyone says that it's haunted. I'm so scared that I don't dare to work the night shift. I don't know what happened, but such a big child disappeared. No one saw her go out, but they searched the entire hospital and couldn't find her. It's really strange. Then do you believe in ghosts in the world? Huomin asked the nurse with a smile. Ah, Deputy Director, you really know how to joke. We study medicine, how can we believe in this? I'm scared, not scared of ghosts. I just feel that this matter has made people panic. Huomin smiled slightly and didn't say anything else. Deputy Director, do you smell anything? No, what smell? Huomin was expressionless. Seems like the smell of blood coming from somewhere. Did your wound open? The nurse's nose was very sensitive. She smelled that something was wrong and lifted the blanket to look at Huomin's ribs. Chapter 4206. Where did the bloody smell come from? The young nurse murmured to herself. Really? How come I don't smell it? Are you hallucinating? Huomin chuckled. No, my nose is the most sensitive. My mother said that my nose is like a dog's. Usually when she cooks something delicious, I can smell it immediately and get up quickly. The young nurse had no doubt about her ability, but she couldn't find the source of the bloody smell. There are a lot of patients in our hospital and the bloody smell is everywhere. Maybe you brought it in when you passed by the operating room. Really? Maybe. The young nurse froze and thought Huomin's words made sense. After changing Huomin's dressing, she left. After she left, Huomin took out a transparent bag from under his pillow. Inside was a warm heart. At the Shin family mansion, Tian came back from Jing City during the winter vacation. Shin Mingxi was out of town, so Wei Ying went to pick her up. At the airport, Tian Tian walked out of the door and saw Wei Ying. She ran up to her enthusiastically. Then she called sweetly, "Mommy." The people around them looked at them enviously, thinking they were mother and daughter. Wei Ying was a bit uncomfortable because Tian Tian had always called her auntie and occasionally mommy. She was a bit embarrassed to call her mommy so suddenly. But she didn't doubt the child's sincerity at all. She immediately put a luxurious down jacket on Tian Tian. "It's cold here." "It's not as cold as Jing City." "Put it on." "Wow. This brand is expensive." "Mommy, did you buy it for me?" "Yeah. I knew you were coming back, so I prepared a few. Do you like them?" "I like them. Thank you, Mommy." Wei Ying. Tian Tian's mouth was getting better and better, and her relationship with Wei Ying was getting better and better. Shen Mingxi began to think it was a good thing. After all, the child's mother was gone. It was a good thing for her to stay with Wei Ying. However, the more he thought about it, the more he felt that this child was too sophisticated. She was different from Pudding and Little Bean, who were precocious and sensible. Anyway, Shen Mingxi began to be wary of the child. But Wei Ying treated her sincerely and raised her as her own child. "Mom, I might not be able to stay at home for too long this time. The school organized a trip and the teacher is taking us to Australia. Summer there right now. The whole class is going." "Very good, then let's go too. But we have to pay 88,000 yuan for the trip. The food and accommodation are all high-end." Tian Tian emphasized. "No problem. I'll transfer the money to you later." "Mom, there's one more thing. I accidentally dropped my phone at school and I didn't dare to tell Dad. Can you buy me another phone? You can deduct it from my living expenses." "This child. Why would I deduct it from your living expenses? It's just a phone. I'll buy it." Then Wei Ying drove to the entrance of a luxury cell phone store. He spent more than 8,000 yuan to buy the most popular mobile phone for the child. Tian Tian seemed very happy and kept trying to please Wei Ying. "Mommy Wei Ying, when I miss home at school I'll look at photos of you and Dad. I even showed your photos to my classmates. They all said that you're very beautiful and that we look alike." "Really?" Wei Ying smiled. "Mommy Wei Ying, in the future, when you have a brother, will you still like me?" Tian Tian suddenly asked. Chapter 4207. Surprised by the question, Wei Ying froze for a second and then smiled. Then he smiled and said, "Of course I will too. I like both of them. Mom, I know you're so kind and will treat me well for the rest of my life. I'm so lucky to have met Mom." Wei Ying. Tian Tian's words were beyond the sweet talk of a normal child. But Wei Ying took them as heartfelt words and was very happy. After picking up Tian Tian, Wei Ying busied herself with packing, changing her clothes and combing her hair. Wei Ying and the housemaid were busy making dumplings in the kitchen. Tian Tian took out her new cell phone and found Wei Yunchu's WeChat ID in Wei Ying's hand. Then she added, but Wei Yunchu rejected her. Tian Tian had no choice but to write, "I'm Tianan." Wei Yunchu replied coldly, "Which Tiantan? Don't you know her? I'm Mom Wei Ying's daughter." She was smart enough to use Wei Ying's name since Wei Ying was Wei Yunchu's aunt. Wei Yunchu was eating pizza with Pudding, Little Bean and Boyun in a pizza shop. The parents came to visit Huamin. After the visit, Jiang Xiaowei drove the twins to have dinner with them. "My aunt's daughter?" Wei Yunchu murmured. I know. She's Hui Yanyan's daughter, right?" Little Bean gossiped. "Yeah. Remember. Her name is Tian Tian," Boyun said. Pudding wasn't interested and continued eating fried chicken. "She added me on WeChat," Wei Yunchu said and glanced at Pudding. "Huh. Does she like you?" Little Bean snickered. "Don't talk nonsense. She can be considered my relative. After all, my aunt is raising her." Pudding still didn't say a word, then add her. "Why don't you see what she's doing?" Boyun didn't care. Wei Yunchu thought for a moment and clicked accept to add Tian Tian. "Tian Tian, Yunchu, are you on vacation?" Wei Yunchu, "Yeah." "Tian Tian, let's go on vacation in Australia?" Wei Yunchu, question mark. "Tian Tian, our school organized a great trip without parents. It's only 80,000 yuan. Your family will pay for it." Wei Yunchu, not interested. "Tian Tian, then where are you interested in? I can go with you." Wei Yunchu, "Am I that close to you?" "Tian Tian, I've heard about you from Wei Ying's mom. Your family. I heard you're friends with Pudding and Little Bean. I'm their friend too." When Pudding and Little Bean were mentioned, Wei Yunchu glanced at the twins. She said she's friends with the two of you? We used to be friends, but one time she betrayed us and lured us into getting kidnapped. After that we were no longer friends. Pudding remained silent as if she didn't want to participate in this topic. Wei Yunchu didn't reply to Tian Tian either. However, Tian Tian suddenly sent a selfie over. Tian Tian's background was not bad. She actually looked a lot like Hu Yanyan. She was quite pretty. In addition, she was now living a life of luxury. Everything she ate and used was the best. She had the temperament of a rich young lady. Wei Yunchu glanced at him but didn't react. Tian Tian sent him another message. Yunchu, do you think I'm fatter or thinner than before? When Boyan saw this, he saw Little Bean reading it aloud with a smirk on her face. Pudding finally reacted a little. She raised her head and glanced at Wei Yunchu. Young Master Wei, you're very popular these days. Are you going to debut? Wei Yunchu, that you're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.